What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of Friday the 13th, the final chapter released in 1984 and was directed by Joseph Zito. The final chapter is widely regarded as one of the best Friday the 13th movies. Do I agree with that? You'll find out in a minute. This one is interesting to talk about because this is the first one that I ever watched. I believe it was in 2021 that I watched it, and in my first watch, well, I didn't know what was going to happen, so in my first watch I was completely blown away by these kinds of movies. I believe this was the third horror movie that I ever watched. The first one was It from 2017, and the second one was Halloween 4. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, tells a story of Jason surviving the 3D adventure that he had back in 1982 and coming back for vengeance on whoever is in his home field, only this time he has to fight the one and the only Corey Feldman. The final chapter is one of my favorite slashers of all time, and this is why. So starting off talking about the positives regarding Friday the 13th, the final chapter, the main one for me is that I love Tommy Jarvis in this movie. To be clear, this is the one performance of Tommy Jarvis that I think is good. I don't really like Tom Matthews in the role in Part 6, but Tommy Jarvis is just an awesome addition to this franchise. I love his character in this movie. I love the thing in the end where he tricks Jason with having no hair. That was an awesome scene for him, but just his character as a whole I think is great. He's the one that kills Jason Voorhees for the first time. He killed the human version, not the zombie version. He would fight him in Part 6. I love that he makes these masks that move, even if it does not make sense. I think it makes sense for his character. The performance is fantastic. He's played by the one, the only Corey Feldman, and he did a phenomenal job in this role, and he's what I mainly like about the final chapter, and it says a lot because I love the final chapter. Another thing I love about the final chapter is the cast of characters that we get. To me, they're easily the best cast of characters that Jason kills in this franchise by a landslide. They are fun and entertaining to watch. The standout here for me is Marty McFly's dad. Oh, I'm sorry, Crispin Glover as Jimmy. He is so funny to watch. His scenes are so entertaining. His death scene is awesome too, by the way. The corkscrew scene is hilarious, and of course, his dance is just flat out iconic. It's one of the most popular Friday the 13th memes of all time, and it is bloody hilarious. His character is hilarious. But really, everyone is awesome here. You have Lawrence Monahan as Ted here. He's hilarious too. Everyone here fits the franchise very well, and they're easily by a landslide, by a country mile, the best characters that we have gotten in this franchise other than Jason Voorhees, in my personal opinion. The kills here I think are fantastic. Tom Savini finally returned to give some awesome kills. After the 3D adventure that was Friday the 13th Part 3, almost every kill in this movie, in my opinion, is phenomenal all around. The best kills in the franchise, if you're not including the Part 8 boxing kill and the Jason X face smash. There are some kills that look like months of work. Jason's death in this movie is a chef's kiss for me, easily top 3 in this franchise. There are so many well-crafted and well-made kills in this movie, and I think these kills easily get me to forgive the strings that we got in 1982 with Friday the 13th 3. That's saying too little. I think the window throw to the car while not having any gore is a top 5 kill for me. It is a kill that I watched so many times. I love it. Ted's death is horror art at its finest, in my opinion. And the final chapter does have my favorite kill in the entire franchise. It's Axel's kill in the beginning with the whole head twist. I think that kill alone at least gives the movie 2 stars, and when you watch the behind the scenes, it's really interesting. Look it up. I also love this version of Jason played by Ted White. Ted White isn't my favorite Jason. He's not in my top 3 or anything, but for what he does, awesome stuff. I love his look of Jason. It's the Part 3 mask, but now he has the iconic mark and the mask is a little bit more aged, and I love it. One of the best Jason designs, and the performance was great. It was like he was trying to act like Richard Brooker, but he just took it to the next level, and it works really well. I also think there's a lot of comedy in this movie that works really well. And my final positive for Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is the death of human Jason Voorhees. I think it's a phenomenal death for Jason Voorhees, and if this actually really was the end of the Friday the 13th franchise, if it was the final chapter, I think it's a fantastic way to end it on. The animatronics were awesome for its time, and they still hold up to this day. Tom Savini did a phenomenal job with this movie. He gave us some awesome kills, and the death of Jason was absolutely a scene that's worth watching the whole movie again for. It's that good. Props to Tom for doing such a great job in this movie. It was probably a nightmare to do some of these stuff. Moving into the mixed elements regarding Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and I only have one, and it's not a bad one, it's just something that all these movies have. I don't like the formula of the Friday the 13th movies, and it's just boring if you're marathoning these films, but the reason it's not a negative is that I think that out of the first 4 movies of Friday the 13th, I think this movie does it the best. The story is pretty decent in this movie, but it's been done before, so that holds it back for me.
And now let's move into the negatives of the final chapter. And these are all pretty small. I love this movie. So in this movie there's this guy named Rob that is looking for his sister, which died in part 2. And well, the final chapter takes place 2 days after part 2 because the second movie takes place on Friday the 13th, and then Jason's 3D adventure takes place in Saturday the 14th, and this one takes place on Sunday the 15th. So how the heck was his sister's death in the newspaper after 2 days, and her death was this huge situation that everyone knows about from the newspaper? It doesn't make any sense. I also hate Tommy Jarvis's mom's death in this movie. It was just a cheap off-screen kill that calls back to the first movie, and I hate it.
So overall, I love this movie. I think it's one of the best slashers of all time. It's probably the most fun Friday the 13th movie, and I just love it all around, so it gets a 9 out of 10. So what do you guys think about Friday the 13th, the final chapter? Are you a fan of this movie? Are you not a fan of it, or is it in the middle for you? Comment all your thoughts. I would love to read them as always. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.